Hi everyone, I actually just wanted to pop on Facebook before I go into the office. Just some little things that I wanted to share with mothers especially, to encourage you in this season of homeschooling that you're doing. And some of you may not know, but I actually homeschooled for 15 years, and so I just wanted to encourage you in the job that you're doing, and maybe some little bit of encouragement might be a bit of a support to you. That's definitely my heart and in doing this, and so I just want you to feel encouraged and inspired that you've got this and you can do this and you're going to get through this season. I just really want to encourage you in that. Now, I've written myself some notes because I don't want to get waffling off in all directions and never get this finished. So here goes. Okay, so first of all, about why I started homeschooling. So it was many years ago now. I think it must be like, oh gosh, 22, 23 years ago. I got the news from our local school that our kids were attending, and they brought in a whole big board of professionals to tell me. Ron and I went along, and they said, you know, look, unfortunately it looks like your son is probably never going to read. And he was at the end of year 4. We had done behavioural management, we'd done ADHD medication and a whole heap of things. I was on behavioural management board, and I'd done a lot of things trying to help, which I knew there was a struggle. And I was so excited going in there because I thought, wow, you know, they're going to give me great positive words and on how they found an answer. And so I was so excited going in there, and then they just said, yeah, that's it, pretty much. Your son might never ever read, and there's really not a lot you can do about it. And then they gave me these words, and they said, you know, these are the kids that get into trouble with the law, they have drug and alcohol problems, and a heap of these kids are in jail by the time they're 20. And so I walked out of there with the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm like, well, you know, I cried for about 3 days, honestly. And I thought, well, you know what? I don't care if you ever read, but you will not be in jail when you're 20 years old. And so I made the decision to homeschool, which was a very weird one in those days. You know, you kind of were looked at like you were Amish or something from some weird cult or something. But I thought, well, I can't do it any worse. So if I get any kind of results, that'll be amazing. And so off I went on the homeschooling journey. And for many of you, you're starting on your little homeschooling journey. It's not going to be for 15 years, I know that for sure, but it's just going to be for a short season. But, you know, there was a lot of positive things that came in our lives through that season, and I just want to share some of them. And so as you start out on your journey, there's a good chance that, you know, the kids are going to be in a lot of conflict together. You know, for the first few weeks, I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to kill each other, you know, because 5 kids all settling into this new lifestyle for us was kind of amazing. And at the time, we had 5 boys. Our baby was 5 months, and our oldest son was going into year 6. And even though it's a really challenging season, I want to tell you that even though it's challenging, I believe that something beautiful will happen in your family through this season, as it did in our own family. So the first while was challenging, and my oldest boy was in year 6, and I'd start looking at the work and think, oh my goodness, I don't know the answer to this, and I'd be all in a mad panic. And so there was all of that stress of trying to figure out that work with him. And, you know, I was still breastfeeding a 5-month-old baby, and the toddler was running around, and, you know, the oldest, you know, I had another couple in the middle that were, you know, we're trying to do schooling with. So it was certainly challenging, but yeah, I just wanted to give you hope. And they were crazy days. I just want to say, how crazy were those days? You know, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I survived. Ron and I often look at videos and go, how did we not kill any of them, or how did they end up alive? They were such crazy days with kids running everywhere. And I'm speaking to you today from our home that we built 28 years ago, and our kids all grew up here, and I homeschooled here for 15 years. But you know, our house was a football field half of the time. You know, the football was flying through the air, and if I got attached to anything, it was, you know, pretty much smashed straight away. So I learnt not to be attached to anything too much. And so it was a crazy, crazy household for a little while. And, you know, it was me and 6 males. Oh my gosh, every day for so many years. I don't know how I survived it. Well, I kind of didn't survive it too well in some days, but, you know, we got there somehow. It was just a kind of a crazy lot of years, and so I want to encourage you, you know, like, there is no right way or wrong way to do this. And girl, I'm just going to say, you're going to get your groove. You know, you're going to do what works for you. And you're an individual, and the way that you run your family and teach your family is an individual. And some days it's almost like just surviving. But I want to encourage you that you are doing a fantastic, amazing job. And I'm so proud of each of you as you take on this challenge. Some of us didn't want to take it on, but, you know, anyway, so good luck on your journey. And find what works for you. For me, my style was very relaxed because I had to be relaxed to fit in with what was going on around me. So my style became very relaxed, and in the end, I ended up trying to just do like an hour with each child just to try and fit it all in. And they did the subjects that they could manage on their own, and then what they couldn't manage, we did together, and that's what kind of worked for us as a family. And I just want to say that I didn't want any boys, and I ended up with 5 of them. And the reason I didn't want them was because I didn't want any teenage boys. I thought, oh my gosh, they're so disgusting and gross, and I don't want any teenage boys. And you know what? As I look back over my life right now, I can say that the year that my boys, the oldest one was in year 12, the second one in year 10, the baby was supposed to be starting year 1. We didn't do well at that, but you soon catch up, so don't worry about any stress of it. You know, everything will catch up. Don't worry about it. But we laughed so much. They were huge days. I used to start at 7 in the morning and finish at 4 in the afternoon, and they were huge, huge days. But, you know, teenage boys can be hilarious, and I just spent my days laughing and giggling. Most of it was dodgy, mind you, but, you know, we just laughed and we had so much fun. And as I look over my life, I have to think that that was actually the best year of my life so far. I'm not over yet, but that was such a spectacular year for us, for our family. And, you know, Ron worked from home, so he would be in the shed printing, and goodness me, it was crazy, but it was wonderful. And, you know, in this season, I believe that it can be a reset for your family. And in the busyness of everyday life, I talked about my oldest son being in year 6 when I started homeschooling, but in the busyness of everyday life, you know, we're running around here and there and trying to cope with everything, and the kids come home from school, and, you know, we live here on an 1.5-acre property, and we back onto Slacks Creek, so our kids would be down, you know, getting in the creek. It's pretty toxic these days, but it was okay then. The kids would be in the creek covered in mud, and, you know, they'd be collecting golf balls because we live across the creek from the golf course, and, you know, they'd be wild adventurers, and they'd come in and you'd have dinner and they'd have a shower and do their homework, and it was time for bed. And very often you miss that unique opportunity of just having that one-on-one with that child, and in the busyness, time just passes so quickly. And so in this reset, I believe that this is a season that you're going to reconnect with the hearts of your children in a beautiful, beautiful way. And do you know what? Maybe you've got teenagers, and maybe you've lost that heart connection with your teenagers, but I just want to say to you, just keep loving them. And just keep pushing walls. You know, the walls will come down as you can endlessly keep connecting with them and pushing through this season. You know, I believe that the walls of that teenager are going to come down, and your hearts will be connected again. I'm believing that for all of your kids in a precious and wonderful way. Yes, it's tough. I know how tough homeschooling is. There were many days that I sat on the couch and I had a good cry, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. There's many, many days that I was like that. And so, girl, don't feel bad if you're feeling like that. You know, different to me. And, yeah, so I just think that this is a great season. You know, our lives are so hectic and so busy. Like, if you ask someone how they're doing, oh, they're always busy, 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 busy. And now this is a wonderful season of slowing down, and it's a time to not be so stressed and unwinding in this season and isolation with our families. And I want you to value this time with your family, and I believe that it's a great time to build relationships with your kids again, and with your family. And why not have dinner around the table again? You know, there's so much stuff on TV that your kids are probably having overload. I mean, I only had my first day home in about 4 weeks yesterday, and oh my gosh, I turn the TV on, like, you can get overwhelmed, you know. And so don't have the TV on all the time, you know, just play some music and have some fun and get back to having dinner around the table. That was some of our greatest moments as a family. I'm sitting right now at it's a 12-seater table now because we've jammed 2 seats on the end. And And, you know, at this table, so much fun happened and around meals, and, you know, it was wild and loud, and our table's so long, it's like 2.5 meters long. So, you know, someone would want a bread roll and someone would fire it. You know, there was nothing elegant about any of it. It was all rough and wild like the rest of our lives. And, you know, here comes a bread roll flying from the other end of the table. And that's kind of how it was at our table. And, you know, we did have food fights every now and then. Thank goodness it hasn't happened in the latter years. But, you know, when they were teenagers, it was fun. You know, we had to clean up a really huge mess at the end of it. But it was all lots of fun. And I think that's the most important thing, that we have fun with our kids. And, you know, I just think that's so important. And one of the games we used to play, and you might find it helpful in your family, was that we used to play games like, what was the high of your day and what was the low? And then you'd see the things that they enjoyed in their life and the things that they were struggling with that weren't so great. It doesn't take a minute. Hey, what was your high? You know, and it's one word or two words. And what was the low of the day? And it's a great way to have family communication. And do you know what? I'm believing for families to be healed and reconnected in this season. And for some of us, it's time for us to let go of the hurt that's been building up over years. And I believe it's time for us to begin to heal as families. And you might say to me, oh my gosh, Debbie, how'd your family turn out? 15 years of such a weird lifestyle. How's your family going, and how did your family turn out? You know, are they a lot of weird loners and unable to communicate with people? And I just want to say the total opposite is true. You know, our teenage boys, they were all teenagers, and when we started building Lighthouse Care, and we had a dream as a family just to bring hope, you know, and so we just started bringing hope. And our boys were teenagers when they used to, every Friday night we'd go down and make food packages to give out in the community on a Saturday morning. You know, that's like 15, 16 years ago now, but that's what we used to do. And as teenage boys, you know, they dedicated their lives. And I just want to say, girls, the values that you have in your life are the ones that you will pass on to your children. And the things that you value become their heart and their passion. And your kids will take on all of that. And, you know, they're all grown men now, our boys, you know, like 23 to 35. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, no wonder I'm looking old and haggard. Never mind. But they will take on your values and your passions. And I believe you can really take time to train them in all of that in this season. And, you know, the son that they said would never read, at 18, he worked for Lighthouse, which was nothing then, but now it's called Lighthouse Care. He worked it for 18, for 12 months, for not a cent, because we believed as a family in bringing hope. And we believed that we could make a difference, even just a small little difference. And we didn't have high hopes. It was just to help 3 or 4 families. Now where it's grown to, it's just crazy and amazing. 55,000 families and members, and it's quite amazing. It's an absolutely amazing story of where if you just start with a small thing and be dedicated, amazing things can happen. And so that son that struggled with reading, at 18, he just worked for nothing, you know, just because we believed in a dream. And that was the kind of passion that Ron and I instilled into them as they were children. And they just learned that, you know, life's not about me, actually. I'm here to make a difference in the world. And they were the values that we instilled into our family. And you can instill them into your family, I believe, in this season. And, you know, our second son now is our general manager. And I want to say that every piece of food in our stores and in our warehouses, he sources from all over the country. He actually imports. We've imported huge numbers of containers from around the world where he's just looking for a bargain so that we can bring hope in the community. And that's the story of what a mother's love and dedication can do. And I believe it for you girls, you gorgeous girls that got this. Do you know what? It's amazing. You know, and as we're dedicated to bringing hope, and I just want to talk about my other kids as well. So our oldest son, Tim, at 35, is now our operations manager, and we at Lighthouse empower 60 other charities across New South Wales and Queensland. And when we started, you know, people were kind of trying to compete, and we said, well, Lord, if you ever bless us, we are going to empower everybody. And so we've stepped out in doing that. And so Tim just coordinates all of that. That's a huge job, but he coordinates all of that so well. And Matt is our second son, who's our general manager, and obviously does all of our stock buying, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's now just turned 33, and so I want to inspire you girls. You've just got these little kids in your hands, but what you're doing today is making a difference for the future of generations. And then our third son, Nathan, is our Hillcrest manager. If you ever go into the Hillcrest store, you'll always find Nathan, and he's in charge of culture for our organisation, and he just does it so well, building beautiful, wonderful culture for our organisation. And then Josh, our fourth son, he was a toddler when we started way back in the day. He was our toddler when we started homeschooling, and he lives now in Sydney, and he's our marketing manager. He does a lot of our posts and videos that you see. And then our son, Daniel, he does stock control, which is absolutely massive. And so our family is still working together. They were young teenage boys when we started, dedicated to bringing hope. And they've just gone on in all of that. And I want to say that Ron and I are so incredibly blessed and amazed at the job they do every day in serving you and bringing you hope, and I'm excited for that. But girl, I believe in this journey of motherhood that you are on, and one day when you're old and grey like me, my greys are starting to come through. I don't know how ugly this is going to get everyone, but anyway, we'll hope for the best. I went out and bought a hair dye, so if it gets really bad, my husband's going to have to dye my hair. God help us all, but I'll keep you posted on that one for sure. But one day when you're an old girl like me, I promise you that you'll look back on these days as something that was actually really special for your family. And I believe that even though these days are difficult and hard and challenging, you're going to find that these are the most worthwhile days in your life. And I want to say, girl, you are shaping the next generation, and I fully believe that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And our boys are all still best of friends, you know, they're all married now, and the whole 5 of them had all of their brothers in their wedding parties, and under normal circumstances, they all come for dinner every Monday night. I cook dinner. I think there's 16 of us now that come for dinner every Monday night, and it's a great way to keep connected as family, just out of the work environment, and just to be family again. So I encourage you can, to do that when life comes back to normal. And do you know what? I can think about this. When you leave this earth, it's not going to be all of your business colleagues and your associates that stand around your bed when you leave this world. It's going to be the people that are in your household now. They are the most valuable asset in your life. They're the most amazing that you get to bring. A child is the most amazing thing that we get to bring into the world, and that we help mold them with the destiny and the values that we carry is such an important thing. And I want to say now that the family you are building is the strength of this nation, and your values are influencing your children. And I want to say, Dad, say something positive about Mum in front of the kids, and Mum, say something amazing about Dad in front of kids. Aren't you blessed to have such an amazing dad? Mum, kids, aren't you so blessed to have such an amazing mum? Say some positive stuffs in your relationships. One of the most amazing things that our kids need is a dad that loves their mum, and a mum that loves their dad. It's the most special, strengthening foundation that we can have as families. And I know that as a lot of us, stuff's not worked out, and I know it's hard and it's difficult, but if you're still in that season where you can bring healing, because I believe it's the time. And mums that are struggling on their own, you are the absolute heroes of our world. And dads that are homeschooling on your own, you're fantastic. I just think you're amazing. So keep going. You're changing the world, and your kids. I always think your kids stand on the shoulders of where you left off, and so I think that's a really important thing. I want to say teach your kids to have an outward focus. Learning is not all IQ. Learning is also EQ. It's the emotional intelligence. Teaching your children to be aware of everybody that's surrounding them, and teaching them to live out of their heart and wanting to make a difference in the world. And I think all of those things are such incredible, important values that we can carry. And I know that all of you are much more clever than me in this season. You all understand technology. I've learned how to record on my phone, yay. But you're also much more clever than me. And I was just thinking one way in this isolation, if, we're allowed out to exercise one or two at a time, or one, whatever it is, I'm not sure. But why doesn't your family write a wee note to your neighbour or a few neighbours? And then when the exercising's on, you can pop a note in the neighbour's letterbox, and all you clever tech people could start connections through, I don't know, chat groups or something like that, to stay in contact and make sure that everyone in your street's doing okay. That's a good way to do it. And then I saw a fabulous post on Meals on Wheels, and they said, like, an idea that was happening was, if you've got elderly neighbours, get them to put like a green little piece of paper or something in the window, and that means that they're doing okay today. And then if the piece of paper turns red, or a different item up in the window, that they need you to go do some shopping for them. They can put a note in their letterbox, or pop it under the door, or they need you to call a doctor or something like that. I think that's a really brilliant way to stay connected as a neighbourhood and in your streets. And so you and your kids can think of the great positive outward things they can do. I think so much in our world is so focused on ourselves, but if we focus on others, we find so much more joy and fulfillment in life. And our country is changing, and I believe in a positive way in the midst of all of this. Through all of this negative experience, I believe that we are changing in a positive way, and this is an opportunity to build family and to go next level. Our nation is already amazing. Through the fires, through the floods, through famine, through drought, we pull together like no one else in the world. But we're going to go from amazing to next level through all of this little connection that we have in our neighbourhoods and in our streets, and this new way that we look out to take care of everybody. And girls, I just want to say that you are leading the way. Be encouraged. You are creating the future of this nation. Just let go of the stress, let go of the weight of it all, let go of the anxiety around it. Chill, girl. Just chill out, relax. And I know that you're going to get through this journey. Take a break, have a coffee, have a cup of tea, sitting out in the backyard. Don't get yourself all wound up. Just relax. You're going to get through this. At the end of the day, it's the connectedness with our kids, it's building relationships, it's all of that fun stuff that gives us powerful families moving forward. Families are the foundation of this nation, and girl, you're doing an amazing job. Or boy, whoever it is that's looking after the kids. I'm so proud of all of you. You've got this. Yay.